if you could first, if you would just provide me a little bit of background on yourself, your career, and your educational background with Grad CDO. Kind of, what got you started with Grad CDO, and what's your background? What are you doing now, and what did you do then?
Yes, thank you, Samuel, once again for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to our graduates. I'm the founder and CEO of Kunju Inc. My name is Pramod Kunju. I graduated from the MBA program at Pepperdine back in 2008. That was some time ago. I specialize in entrepreneurship. I'm also a board member with the National Diversity Coalition. We are an advocacy organization that helps small businesses as well as low-income communities. In terms of my professional career, at Kunju Inc., we specialize in data analytics and artificial intelligence consulting.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you so much for that. And in terms of your, what was kind of the reason that you wanted to go back to school and get your graduate degree at the time? Did you have a certain reason that you went back to school?
The only reason why I went back to school was to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to acquire the skills to be a successful entrepreneur. And I know Pepperdine was very well regarded in the area of entrepreneurship specialization. So that's why I went back to school and I was invested completely in my MBA program.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So then the next question here is, what was your experience pursuing your graduate education in the midst of a recession? I can imagine when you were pursuing your graduate education at the time, that was probably a little bit of a scary thing to kind of go into when you're kind of nearing graduation. You're starting to think about what your plans are, and then you realize that you're like, oh, I'm kind of in the middle of a weird time. What was your experience like, and did you have any initial thoughts, any things like that in regards to what was going on at the time?
Yeah, so once again, I was in the fully employed MBA program, which meant that I was actually doing a full-time job while doing my MBA program at the same time. In terms of the recession, we all saw that it was coming. We saw job losses around us. We saw that the economy was in decline. In terms of personally, me being impacted, I was not, because my full-time job was in a good place and it was not impacted.
That's good to hear. So you didn't really have any, at that time, you weren't really uncertain or anything, because you were in a good position, thankfully, it sounds like.
Yeah, certainly. So I did not want to let the recession impact my decision to become an entrepreneur. I was pretty confident with my skills as well as the education I was receiving at Pepperdine. And deep inside, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So there was really no looking back at that time. I probably didn't think too much about it, which was a good thing. Because what happened is that as soon as I graduated from Pepperdine, I ended up quitting my full-time job and to become a full-time entrepreneur at that point. One thing I did do, because it was a recession and because I saw how the economy was not doing that great, I started reaching out to potential consulting clients towards the end of my MBA program. And I think that really helped me out, because by the time I graduated, I already had a couple of leads that I could pursue and consulting clients that we lined up for my company.
Very cool. Thank you for that. I'm glad to hear that it wasn't too crazy for you at that time, because I can imagine for some it was definitely very stressful. So, and then kind of to reiterate, as you were approaching the completion of your education, it sounded like you kind of did have a game plan for what you were going to do post-graduation. So as you mentioned previously, you kind of knew that you wanted to get into the entrepreneur phase. So was that your game plan from the beginning once you got your graduate education to pursue entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. That was my only goal for doing this MBA program. And I'm glad I was able to stick with that. And Pepperdine played a huge role in that decision as well, because like you said, it was the middle of the recession. And some people would advise me that maybe you want to stay at your full-time job a little bit longer. I remember I had a really good full-time job with great benefits, and I could have stayed there for much longer. However, talking to my friends at Pepperdine, to the faculty, they all encouraged me and made me at the end make the right decision to become an entrepreneur.
Very cool. I'm very glad to hear that you made the right decision at that time. And just out of curiosity, is this being an entrepreneur, was that just kind of a passion that you always had, that this was the right time for you to pursue at that time?
Yeah, exactly. So when I decided to become an entrepreneur back in 2008, I already had about 6 to 7 years of working in the data industry, data analytics industry. And I saw that there was a lack of good professional, high quality consulting services in our industry. So that really motivated me to become an entrepreneur and establish a consulting boutique professional services firm at that time.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that answer. And then just kind of reflecting back on your time when this occurred, what are three takeaways you learned from graduating during the Great Recession? Kind of looking back at that time, were there any major takeaways that you had that you think you really reflect on now that kind of helped you with your journey?
Absolutely. I think the first takeaway that I can remember is that I wanted to focus on things that I could control. There was nothing I could do about the recession, but I could prepare better and get ready for starting a company or launching a company in a recessionary world. So that was one. The second takeaway really was when you're in a recession or when you're in an economy that is declining, you have to prepare that much harder and work that much harder to succeed in that kind of environment. Third takeaway for me personally was that your friends at Pepperdine, the connections that you make, whether it's your classmates or your faculty, those connections last a lifetime. In fact, some of my best friends right now are the ones that I graduated with at Pepperdine.
Great answer. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so then moving on to the next question. If you had the chance to do anything differently during that time, would you have? Obviously, that was a really good point for you because, like you said, you really started your entrepreneurship. Would you change anything, do anything differently, or would you follow on the exact same path that you took the very first time?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing I do remember is that because I was specializing in entrepreneurship, I participated in some business plan competitions. At that time, that was more of a curiosity, a fun thing to do. I remember once flying to Cincinnati, Ohio to present at one of those competitions. Well, looking back, maybe I should have taken those a little bit more seriously, looking at Shark Tank and things like that. Who knows, if I was more serious or more focused, I could have gotten some venture capital funding while I was at Pepperdine.
Do you think at all that the recession in a way kind of maybe helped you start on the path of entrepreneurship? Like you maybe felt like it was a good time. You're like, this is the time. It's kind of a sign for you. I feel like that is kind of a weird time frame, but for you, it seems like it was the right opportunity for you to kind of go and actually pursue entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Again, I was very passionate about starting my company and I invested in the MBA program for that sole purpose. So with that in mind, I kind of looked at the recession. We were in the middle of it while we were graduating, but again, made the decision to move ahead, especially because I was able to line up some consulting clients for our company even before I graduated.
Awesome. All right, thank you for that answer. Great answer. And then lastly, this is kind of one of the more important ones, just to kind of give some perspective and some advice to our upcoming grads that'll be watching this at some point. What advice do you have for our upcoming 2020 graduates entering the market during turbulent times? I only graduated school a few years ago, so I can imagine the stress that some people are probably feeling right now. A lot of offers have been rescinded. Some people did have positions that they're having to postpone. So do you have any good advice for grads kind of entering this market, what they should do, what they should look for, kind of ways that they should go about things?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I would like to present our graduates with 3 ideas, if I may. First, when you are going through your job search, these are difficult times. You may not get your dream job on day 1 or day 2 or month 1 or month 2. Be persistent, be resilient. You have worked hard, you have been to Pepperdine, you're a Pepperdine graduate, you have the right skills. Eventually, you're going to get that right job. If it's taking a while, do not despair, do not give in to negative thoughts. Think about upgrading your skills. Maybe there is something that you can learn to complement what you already learned at Pepperdine. The good thing about the times we are in, even though we are in the middle of a pandemic, is that there's a lot of learning that you can acquire out there at very minimal cost. So again, keep moving. Do not feel the negative energy. Keep moving and be positive about your job search. Secondly, once you find the right organization, try to spread your wings. think about being nimble. That's one of the lessons out of this pandemic is being nimble will make you succeed. Just to give an example, I know a small business owner who was in the business of salons, and they had to close all the salons down when the pandemic hit. What did they do? They started selling protective equipment online, the personal protective equipment or PPE, which was in high demand. They just happened to have a huge inventory because they're in the business of salons and they use it routinely. They started selling that online almost overnight. So they moved from being a salon company to a company selling PPE overnight, and they were able to ride out the pandemic phase. We hear about automobile companies, for example, making ventilators almost overnight. We also hear about companies that are probably not going to make it. So think about that. Think about the agility that you can acquire when you're in a profession. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, think about all the external factors that can adversely impact your business. The pandemic is something not many would have predicted. But think about, again, being able to adjust your business model quickly and do something else if you're forced to. Last but not the least, think about practicing giving back to your communities. That's something that I really cherish from at Pepperdine Education. At Pepperdine, we talk about best for the world leaders. We talk about to give more than you receive. Those are values that are already inculcated in you just because you are a graduate of Pepperdine, whether you know it or not. So make the best use of it. Make it a habit of giving back to your communities. In my role as board member of National Diversity Coalition, we were able to help several small business owners. We were able to help a lot of low-income individuals to navigate this crisis. And I'm really humbled and honored to be part of an organization like that. So as you establish yourself in your career, make it a habit, practice the act of giving back to your communities because that's very meaningful and that's very important, especially during these times. I want to wish you the very best, whatever you choose to do. Again, lean on your alumni like me. We are here to help you. We are here to cheer you on in your journey. Again, wish you the very best, whether you choose to build a career in an organization or you choose to become an entrepreneur. God bless.